Hi. A thing I like a lot about low-pass gates is their tendency to ring. Okay, that's not surprising, I guess. It even sounds a little redundant since ringing could easily be said to be their primary characteristic. But let's build on that a little bit. With a standard issue sequence of note values and gate ons, the low-pass gate's ringing can easily extend past the end of the current sequence step and into the next one, which can be particularly interesting sounding when the next step is ungated and the note values are different from that on the current step. Let's demonstrate. Using the Cartesian channel's gate output to strike the optomix here, while using its CV output to sequence the XPO. We can hear the next notes ringing out under the first one. They're not ghosts exactly because they have yet to exist. They're more like premonitions or ideas, bulbs casting light on possible futures inscribed in the sequence grid. Oftentimes, this characteristic rendezvous of sequencer and vrol is considered to be undesirable. There are ways around it, of course, from sleep mode on the René to tuning adjacent notes to the same values, adjusting envelope lengths, damp amounts, etc. But instead of pulling away in fear, this time let's lean in and expand on it. I'm generating these ambient premonitions using, of course, the Cartesian channel of René and clocking only with the X clock. Let's add an axis of motion with the Y clock. And let's also use the mod inputs on both X and Y. Using fun.mod.runStop to start and stop these axes of motion at different times. Since the two clocks are running at two different rates and also starting and stopping at another two different rates, these post-event premonitions now trace out potential futures in various vectors. In other words, what we hear through the ring after the initial note is different depending on which direction the Cartesian channel is moving. This collection of 4 different clocks makes it complex enough that we never know just from listening exactly which direction it's going to go. I want to let these traces coincide with other events. I get a sort of ultra minimalist vibe from this patch so far, and I think I'm going to tend toward honoring that going forward here. We'll see where the potential futures take us, though. Let's patch up 2 more sine waves. I'm going to use the X-pan for the VCA for both of these. Go ahead and add the mimeophone in as well. For these two new sine waves, we're going to use tightly controlled envelope shapes from the maths. And that specifically will be to keep them from doing this Vactral light cast on selections of ambient sequence locations, not letting these notes ring out past their initial pitches. Also, I've only enabled one gate location per programming grid on the X and Y channels, and only two on the Cartesian channel. Again, since the X and Y clocks and mods are being gated at 4 different clock rates, it doesn't exactly repeat each time through. On this sparse material, the mimeophone adds a subtly pleasing, slightly noisy textural undercurrent. Let's sum the smooth CV output from the Wogglebug with an offset to make it bipolar and use that to modulate micro rate to warble it a bit as well. Let's add very softly one last voice. We'll use the mimeophone's rate output, patching it to an input on Modumix, and we'll turn its output on and off periodically by modulating the Modumix with the other output from Tempi. We'll send that resulting occasional gate to the input of the QPOS for some pinging. And let's FM that slightly with the triangle from the XPO. And we're mixing that back in using the other channel of the Optimix. Let's modulate its control parameter with the Woggle CV. For this patch, I feel that a key here is to keep this voice playing very softly, if at all.